we've got Rodrigo. We're going down south of the border now. Rodrigo was in San Fran for a while. Now he's in Monterrey in Mexico. And he's got a pain management clinic down there. He was working like Silicon Valley type buzz. Are you on here ready to go? There you go.
All right, guys. I think it's good enough for, I'll be able to talk for a good, my presentation isn't as long as Stuart's. I think mine's much more, I'm a little, I feel underprepared compared, but I think Stuart really nailed some amazing concepts. I think it really brought things home. And what I wanted to present is a pretty similar presentation. I think we all have had a similar journeys of going through different systems and kind of not quite finding the whole thing fully encapsulated. So I'm going to be presenting about pain-free training and why ATG is the best training solution for people in pain or injured. So a quick little bit about me. I'm Rodrigo Fernandez. I was born here in Mexico, Monterrey, Mexico, northeastern Mexico. I practiced boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and MMA nonstop from the time I was 13 till I was in my about 24 years old, and I was obsessed with it. So totally obsessed. It was everything I could think of. I was the guy that would go to parties and would try to show everyone wrestling moves or check out this move, man. But unfortunately, my combat career and training had to end because of pretty back tendonitis that I was having on my biceps and consistent back pain. And I had no idea why it was happening. Everyone I asked had no solutions for me. And at the time I was in sales. I was a software salesman. I was not in fitness per se, but fitness was my passion. It was what I liked to do. And in 2014, I started, while I was training calisthenics, I started to coach one friend, then two friends, then three, then four, then all of a sudden I was fully booked. I changed careers and I decided to give training a shot. But in Mexico, training is not seen as a high-end job. Usually you're not a top earner if you're as working as a trainer. And I was trying to find a way to make money and up my game. So I decided to move to California, and I lived there for about close to 5 years. And I was living in San Francisco, and I mainly spent my time there opening up my own personal business practice. And I started to take as many certifications as I could from anyone and everyone that I could think of. Big inspiration for me was Ido Portal. I was super into the variety of movements, really trying to just think more outside the box, less linear. And that really resonated with me. But I always felt it was very scattered. It didn't quite feel like I could systemize that or give that to a general population. So I was trying to see what could I do. And then I started to take courses from the Czech Institute, Strong First, the Soma Training Institute, and all those systems were great. They worked, but it all felt like it was a little bit of everyone really emphasized health, sleeping well, etc., things that are vital things that we should do as humans. But I didn't quite find a system that I could replicate and kind of create a whole business around. And then I started to train with Kilo Strength Society, and Stefan Kazul is a former student. He was a former head of Polican Group after Charles got kicked out of his own company. And then he left and he made Kilo, and he has a ton of the Polican principles mixed in there. And that's when I really started to understand Charles's work more and more, and seeing knees over toes was a big emphasis, when lunging, external rotation, making sure that you're doing anterior tibialis. But these things, you needed all these either fancy equipment or really really sophisticated stuff, and it was hard to me to kind of justify a lot of this stuff. And it was all about like train, like lift heavy and then accessorize at the end. And then recently in 2020, I finally moved back to Mexico, and I've opened up my pain management clinic. While I was in the States, I started to notice that everyone was injured. Everyone, like, it was okay, I want to lift heavy. And that's what the things that I really didn't quite square up with Kilo's philosophy. Okay, like, great, you want to lift really heavy stuff. Strength is the mother of all skills. Everything emanates from that. But if they don't have the range of motion or the mobility or the coordination or the equipment necessary, well, you're just stuck. You're okay. Like, I need you to go to the gym 5 times a week or 3 times a week. Most people don't have the discipline or the access to that type of installations. So I kept kind of running into some problems, and the pain aspect was just kind of like a byproduct of me starting to take more courses to help my clients, because I noticed people were always had nagging pain and stuff that was going on wrong. And that's when I started to take the EGOSQ certification. And the EGOSQ is it's a postural therapy. They focus on postural alignment, making sure that people have the right functionality. And it really resonates. It really blends well with ATG's principles, but they're just about getting people from pain to normal. And I thought that was great. But then I had a bunch of clients that would get out of pain and they're like, okay, I'm no longer in pain. Now what? How do I get stronger? How do I make sure that I don't injure myself further down the line? How do I make sure that I get better as an athlete? And that's when I started to see some on Real Movement member that was taking knee ability, was a friend of mine, a former colleague, was doing a lot of these like anterior tibialis. I'm like, oh, dude, that's great. That's the smartest thing I've ever thought. Like, why didn't I ever think of doing anterior tibs against the wall? It's so easy. And then following Ben Patrick's work, I started to see more and more things that were going on, and it just made sense. Everything just started to fall into place. But yeah, so that's kind of like how I got into it. And ever since I've started to use ATG in my own and some of the Real Movement stuff from the knee ability, my knees have felt better than ever. I do a lot of trail running and mountaineering, and it's my knees and my feet are stronger than ever. It's never the issue. So, and whereas before, a lot of that stuff, I could constantly would not run because my legs were kind of brittle, if I'm honest. So now it's been making a huge difference for me. Even though I squatted heavy, I never had strong ankles. But yeah, so that's kind of like my story in a nutshell. Sorry, I was a little sporadic all over the place, but that's essentially where I'm coming from. So those are the big issues that lead people into pain, right? So the main issues are their sedentary lifestyle, right? So everything now is cozy. We have 8 to 12 hours on our butts every day. Most people that do fitness classes or exercise, they just do random training stimulus, or if they do anything at all. So they're doing like high intensity classes that they're not ready for. So their tissues are just from the couch to doing like a Tabata, like HIIT workouts. The body is not ready for it. Then there's weekend warriors, the people that are like, I'll just do anything. And they'll just start to they'll do a boxing class here. They'll do a little bit of running. Then they'll do some weights one day. Then they'll do bicep curls. Then they'll play with their dog in the park. Then you have the purists, people that, I'm only a runner. All I do is run. All I do is box. All I do is swim. And those purists often come with consequences. Not that it's intentional, but each sport starts to build the body in a different way. And that's the it's not bad, but like I've been frequenting a climbing gym, and people have been telling me like they often have issues with their elbows and with their upper back. And it's usually because of the postural imbalances that start to happen from just pulling, and excessively doing like climbing and not focusing on balancing the external rotations. They don't have a proper thoracic extension, et cetera, et cetera. And then most people that go to the gym nowadays are just doing either a bodybuilding focus, and that again is totally is fine if that's what you're going for, but there's rarely an intentional and strategic approach to how to do it. And then finally, the last big issue that I think leads people to be in pain is they're loading their bodies that are not prepared for it. Oftentimes, most people have a highly sedentary lifestyle that leads to posterior pelvic tilts or anterior pelvic tilts, or like very, very weak like erectors. And when you start to put weight on them, or when you start to do lots of heavy weights, it often leads to a lot of back pain. And if I had a nickel for every person that comes with a herniated disc that says, "Oh, I'm used to squatting heavy and I never had back pain until this other day that I tried to max out," I would have quite a bit of money. But fortunately, those are also my clients, so they do give me money. So anyway, so the main issues that clients that lead to injuries or pain. So the big issues that from all those things are their misalignment. Their posture is poor. They're not their postural alignment is based on their lifestyle. So this is just leading them to continuously have a body that isn't prepped for the types of activities they're doing. The big thing is the second thing is their imbalances. They're usually like very dominant in certain sports. So golfers are always rotating aggressively in one direction, or tennis players are rotating aggressively in one direction, or like fighters are often hunched over and jabbing with their left, doing crosses with the right, that type of stuff. There's always left and right imbalances that often happen. And those rotations are constantly leading to people having a lot of issues in their lower back. So whenever I see clients in the pain management clinic, they come in and I check their posture just to see kind of where their body like finds its center. And I would say about 80 to 85% of the people that come in have a huge rotation in their pelvis and in their shoulders. Like their right shoulder is tilted forwards almost all the time. Well, their dominant side, sorry. And then the final one is a pelvic tilt. So either very anterior or very posterior pelvic tilts. So you find this with running athletes that have really, really tight hip flexors or really tight quads. Their pelvis is going to tilt forward and they'll have an hyperextension of their lumbar spine, or you'll have a posterior pelvic tilt because everyone's sitting all day and they're putting their back in relative flexion. And that's also leading to the disc degeneration. So there's very little movement. There's very poor postures in those areas, and that often leads to tons and tons of pain. So this brings me back to the ATG advantage. Like, what does ATG offer that I think is the best solution for solving a lot of these issues? So one of the big ones is the unilateral work for balance. You use this ATG split squat is working full knee flexion, full ankle flexion, full hip flexion, and hip extension on the opposite side. And you're strengthening one side, and it's when you switch to the other side, you'll have the same type of you'll be sure that you have the same amount of strength on the left than on the right. And that's oftentimes, Ben talks about it all the time. If you're balanced on both sides, you'll reduce the risk of injuries tremendously. Secondly, form follows function. So if you're doing if you're doing something that's often that you can consistently do, that allows you to be strong and mobile. People love that their workouts are short. People love that it's easy to do, that you usually don't require a ton of equipment. So that's a huge advantage for people. It's highly scalable. The exercise selection is super scalable. You can like make it much, you can regress or you can progress everything to like we've been seeing. Make it like right now, my mom, who's 62 years old, is doing it. I have an older lady that's 75. I'll have her do a very modified version of all these things. She was telling me, she had knee surgery 4 years ago, and I just have her do one leg on top of a coffee table, and she's doing a very light version of a ATG split squat, and her knee flexion has been improving much better than what she went to the doctor, and the doctor was telling her, like, I actually have never seen someone your age recuperate their knee this fast. So she was thrilled, and she's been able to, instead of just becoming less and less mobile, she's been going on more walks. She goes on weekly 4-mile walks, and she's feeling strong. She's feeling good. So all this is great for her. Then there's a lot of isolation, and then there's a lot of reintegration. So I like the whole buy-in in some of the programs. The idea that like you start your the zero with a ton of calf work and a ton of anterior tibialis and VMO work, and then you mobilize, and then so you're making sure that you're following, you're breaking each piece apart, but then you're bringing it all together at the end. And that is huge for making sure that you can isolate each part. And if something hurts, you can always make it easier. You can make it a softer version. You can do a lighter version. And then the whole focus on the missing links, things that people usually neglect. So it's anterior tibialis is never used. Full knee flexion is rarely prioritized. Thoracic extension is rarely something that people like put into their programs. So all these things is we have very simple, very approachable ways of showing people how to do these, and that you can scale it again to their current level. The other thing is strength through length. You make sure that they have strength in all of the different positions while the muscle is extended, as well as in its shortened position. And that's leading to more tissue adaptation, stronger tendons, stronger ligaments, stronger joints that can resist more stuff in more load in all the positions. And when they're doing sports, when they're walking, when they're having their day-to-day life, it's a much lower risk of injury. And then it's a big thing is like instead of people, when I used to focus on like at the gym in San Francisco, everyone was always like, oh, how much can you squat? How much can you deadlift? What's your bench, etc. It wasn't a very bro-y environment, but people would generally get lost in trying to just have heavier lifts instead of focusing on having people, to have stronger humans, people that can function and can have a higher quality of life. And ATG always brings, like, I think if you just have people doing zero for most people, it's more a nutritious movement than much of the stuff that they do on their day-to-day life. And it's I like the client empowerment. They feel like they have a toolkit, a set of moves and exercises that they can now implement into their life that they can use with either minimal or no equipment at all. And they feel like they now have something that they can achieve. So I've had lots of friends approach me and say, like, look, man, I know you have your pain management clinic. I know you train. Can you give me a program? And I tell them, I'll write you a program, or I'll send them something that's similar to like an ATG styled version of like a slight modification from my end. And they take that home and they're loving it because they have something that's very accessible, very easy to use. There's no guesswork. it's just something that you can go from it's from A to Z with like just follow the breadcrumbs but just put in the work. And finally, it goes to the root and not to the symptoms. So usually when people say that they have knee pain, well, it's because they have very weak ankles, they have very weak hips, they have very poor knee flexion and knee strength in the tissues themselves. So all this, like if you strengthen the whole lower limb and you strengthen the whole body, like from one thing to the other, you'll make sure that everything is working. You're making sure that there's no, you're not just going for the, oh, your back hurts, let's just do like the back extensions. You're making sure that like everything is working. If everything works, there's no reason for it not to be, if proper function will lead to less injuries, plain and simple. So that's one of the main things that I find that is an important thing to focus on, not just with all the clients that I see in the clinic. It's usually just having them strengthen their ankles, squeeze a pillow between their knees so that their adductors are a little stronger and they have a little bit more pelvic stability. Like start to bend their knees fully, and most of the times the knee pain starts to disappear, or at least it diminishes significantly in 1 or 2 sessions. And if they just continuously do it, their structure will be stronger and they'll have no issues there. All right. And so finally, well, what are my goals with ATG? What do I want to do? Well, I want to bulletproof more humans. I want people to be stronger. I want people to be more capable of doing the things that they like and things that they love to do. I want to upgrade training in Latin America, because I think if right now we're the ATG is a trend that's like we're the up and coming system that's kind of trying to revolutionize the fitness industry. Mexico is a few years behind that. So there's still like everyone you ask here is doing they're not even doing powerlifting. They're not even doing like there's very few CrossFit gyms. Most of the people in Mexico are still doing a bodybuilder type workout, which is fine if you're a bodybuilder. But if you're trying to be a professional soccer player, you have no business doing like drop sets with bicep curls 2 times a week. I think it's a much better use of your time to be doing ATG split squats. So it just makes sense to me to make it like I want to bring education to the top level education to Latin America. So I want to, like, one of the things I'm starting to do, I have a few videos I've been recording that I'm going to start publishing this coming week. All educational content similar to Ben Patrick's work, but it's in Spanish. So fortunately my Spanish is better than my English, so I'm less long-winded. But overall, that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to using. And the more I learn from the ATG system, the more I'm sure that this is the way to go and this is the future. So I'm all in. I appreciate your guys' time, and I hope this kind of makes sense to why the ATG is one of the best systems to use for making sure that people are not in pain or reduce the risk of injury. Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Yeah, this is like another application. We're looking at high school, and then we're looking at chronic pain, sufferers in Mexico, and how this is going to spread into Latin America. It's so it doesn't have to be so slow. The process doesn't have to be. Countries don't have to be 5 or 10 years behind now. Like, the information can get out quickly and people can change what they're doing. And that's super exciting. So you guys are now more aware of Rodrigo, and you can ask questions specifically around those applications. He's getting some really good results with the using this stuff for chronic pain, which is definitely a different application than top speed running and that sort of thing. High performance athletes. There's more and more Spanish speakers coming in. So
yeah,
you go.
I hope I hope to be doing one of these Spanish calls soon. So if you guys have any Latin friends that you guys hope to like, just send them my way, and I'll try to help. And yeah, if anyone has any issues with pain related injuries or stuff like that, let me know, and I'm happy to give you guys my 2 cents.
If you post it up in the events, Rodrigo, that platform that we have at the moment, anyone can access that platform. They can't get to all the educational content, but the platform there. So if you create an event, then people will be able to send a link to their friends or see that it's coming up. So it'll sit there in the events where everyone can kind of see it, and then it can be shared from there pretty easily too. So yeah, I'm excited to.
All right, well, good to know.
That'll get the ball rolling. You know?
Awesome. Yeah.
Following on from that, then, which is basically, this could be for Stuart and Clint and Rodrigo, and like all of you really. I'm interested in how much people are using the ATG system verbatim, like straight exactly as it is, and how much people are kind of using elements of it but modifying it to how they would otherwise implement their own training style. And I ask because I teach like martial arts, and so I obviously can't simply just teach the ATG system, and so it's more about integrating it as much as I can into an existing a system which has a long history in itself.
I'm happy to answer this a little bit. So from my end, I've had a variety of like, personally, I start everyone doing it almost verbatim. I think it's like, before you start playing around with it, it's best to just use it as it is. It just, you'll understand the intent behind it so much better. And now that I've had the intent much more in my head and in my client's head, then I start to tweak things depending on their more specific needs. But usually, like, you're covering all the bases with what's already there, and then you can start to play around with it. So yeah, that's kind of how I go around with it with most clients, and with my own training. I just did it, the whole thing, just from A to Z, just do the whole thing. And then, for example, I've had clients that are like, "Are we going to do this for 12 weeks? It's too long. I'm paying you all this money," and blah, blah, blah. So sometimes I'll do the same thing with a different tool, like, or with a slightly different, like a slightly different order. So that just gives them a little bit, like, they feel like they're doing something different. And it's more for an entertainment purpose, if I'm totally honest with you, because the system works. You don't really have to change too much to have great success with it. So yeah, it's a gold mine just by itself. It's pure gold. So I think yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on that. I don't know if Stuart and Clint have some other thoughts on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's good to hear, because, like, I guess that's the thing, right? I'm trying to, when people are coming to me, they're like, I want to learn martial arts, and I'm basically saying, yeah, and we'll get to that, but first I want you to do like 12 weeks of this, and then that'll basically be my assessment, and where I figure out where you're at, and I can kind of drip feed in a little bit of the martial art work as we go. So by the time we hit the 12-week period, I'm feeling more confident about what I can show you and what, like, you need to work on. So it's good to hear that you say you're happy to just push people 12 straight away.
Yeah, but and since you're also doing a martial arts component, like, I could easily see how you could kind of like martial arts ish, like an ATG split squat. Like, you tell them, like, this is you could almost like put makeup on it and make it look like it's a martial arts like a position. And you just kind of like give it a little bit of a thoracic rotation and just arms extended or something. And I don't know, I think you can kind of massage things around to kind of make it that type of stuff. I for example, I'll do like if I'm in a park and I have no walls to do like an anterior tibialis, I'll have them be in like the top position of an ATG split squat, and just do the top. They're doing an anterior tibialis on the front leg. So from like a split stance, they're just doing one of those. So you can just have them be in different positions, and you can kind of play around with it, just making sure that you're hitting as many of the key pieces as possible. Like you could do like a 2-month period where, or at least the first month and a half, 6 weeks or something, of just focusing on zero movements, and then you can start playing around with some dense like sequencing. So you do every minute on the minute type stuff for the first 20 or 30 minutes. I don't know. Those are some thoughts, because I'm sure they're like, I wanna learn what I'm paying you for at the same time. But yeah, I sometimes hide the medicine in the food type of thing. Same thing that I do with my dog. So I don't know, kind of that's the thought process that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of different, Jet, because I have those, like I said, I have those developmental athletes, and if I can push the zero program on the freshmen follow the zero program as it is, because they're freshmen and 90% of them have never touched the weight before. I can't do that with a high school kid that has lifted his freshman year, his sophomore year, and now he's a junior and he's 16, 17 years old. I can't start him with the zero program. So I got to pull aspects of that and that's currently what I'm going through now. I got to pull aspects of that and use it for the warm up, where before I was doing, I'll tell you exactly what I was doing. 5 reps of Romanian deadlift, bent over row, upright row, shoulder press, and squat. Go through that for 2 circuits. It takes whatever, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. And then we start our workout. And our workout is 3 blocks. It's a core exercise and 2 accessory exercises. So with my older kids, the juniors and seniors, I can pull part of the zero program and use that for the warm up or for the technique aspect before I get into the 3 working blocks. And when I get to the 3 working blocks, you can't tell a 17-year-old boy he can't bench press anymore. He's not going to get that. So I can put him on a dense program and go, you can bench press, but we're also going to follow up with accessory with dumbbell bench presses, neutral grip, try to get the head of the dumbbell all to your shoulder. And then we're going to superset that with bent over rows. So I can use it that way. And that's what I'm going through now, because not only will I lose my older kids and they just flip me the bird and be gone, I'm going to lose a lot of the older coaches. So I'm not sure where you live, but whether it's football, rugby, whatever, imagine an old school coach that's been coaching for 20 years or 25 years. What we have at the high school level, I go, yeah, we're not going to clean a deadlift or back squat anymore with the football players. We're going to do tib raises, calf raises, sissy squats. And he going to say, you're not going to train my athletes. So I can't force that on my older athletes, if that makes sense. I'm going to have to integrate it, and that's what I'm in the process of doing now.
It's a great answer. And, I would definitely go more that way, working with a team as well. Like, you got to make it feel like, and you can play with the volumes and things to give them that sensation, and you can still get their numbers up, but you can make sure the program underlying is slanted towards what's going to matter most. I love that. And there's still something to be said for squat, bench, dead, as long as it's not the only way. And it depends a lot on the details. So Ben's got something for us here. He's been waiting there patiently to share some thoughts.
Firstly, I just wanted to say fantastic job, everyone. I think that was really, really great. Just sort of to get what Stuart was saying, just to sort of summarize, I think in some ways the whole ATG system, which is in some ways your conclusion of getting rid of the FMS assessment is something that Charles told me. He said training is assessment. So fundamentally what we're doing when we put our athletes and our clients and old, young, and all that kind of stuff is you're seeing it. And with the standards, you're seeing it, they're doing the exercises, and that's the measurement of, can they do the exercises? So fundamentally what Keegan's done and what Ben's done together is that in one encapsulation, which is training is assessment, as opposed to assessments over here. We do all this training and then you come back to the assessment, see, is it better, isn't it better? And I think that's the fundamental flaw with the FMS system and all these other systems. So the idea I've had is exactly what Keegan's done. The magic of it is the mobility in the way of the long and the short range, all that stuff, that's magical, because that's the stuff that, as Keegan said before, the esotericism of Charles, I claim that it was there, but not in the way that Keegan and Ben have articulated it, such that it's systematic. and that we're getting these things like the knee extension, all this, the human knee extension, all these kind of things. And so I think that's great, because you just summarized, and all of what you're saying is the conclusion is you did it in practice, where you fundamentally concluded that training is assessment. Anyway, I just want to say fantastic. And that, I think that's the point that fundamentally this whole system hinges on. That we have it every day, every session. You do that. And just to add a little bit, for example, I have a jiu-jitsu athlete that's done, she tore her MCL 2 weeks ago, and she's done 0 every day. So you can up 0 to every day. Here's my little guy. Say hi. All right, buddy. So the assessment, 0, you can up the ante. I think the other stuff you got to be more careful with. But fundamentally, I think the magic is 0. You can go every day. And I have another athlete, as we were talking about, is what we're saying is 30 minutes of 0, and then 30 minutes of jiu-jitsu. So it's zoom right into it. And it could be anything. It could be basketball, as Ben would be. You can do it. And then, as Keegan's saying, on field, you could do that. You could easily make a football team do it as a warm-up, because it doesn't even feel like quote unquote strength training. Oh, it's the warm-up. And then you go into the gym and you hit the weights, and you're doing bench press, bench, squat, dead, clean. But you're doing all the other stuff. So in some ways, it's very easy to integrate, I think, in that end. Anyway, that's my 1 cent.
It's 100%. Like you just see, okay, they can't do this exercise right. Let's try this one instead. Let's do this in between. Let's spend some more time paused in the bottom. Like I love making those little adjustments on the fly and showing them, let's take some weight off. Let's spend some more time in that stretch position. Let's, do these in between. Most people really love those small individualizations, and that fits within the group environment. You can get the most out of it for everybody. People feel special with getting their right regressions. But yeah, it was great to have everyone on today, and I really love these shares. I think there's so much value in hearing how different people are applying it, and just making those connections as well. Please drop your Instagram links in there, but you can also connect with each other through Mighty Networks and see each other's profiles and whatnot. I think a lot of the great things that will come out of this network will be through the relationships that are built and people just going out and making changes. The majority of people have never heard of ATG still. Most athletes still don't know what it is, why it works. Maybe some people have seen the account, but they still don't have any idea what it's all about. So, it's still very much like day 0 for this. And even those of you who think about Charles Poliquin and covered a lot and whatnot, fact is, it didn't get out to 99% of gym goers. They've never heard of him. They don't know why they're doing. Some of his movements might be there or whatnot, but it's all still ahead of us. Like this is day 0 for making a real change in the way high school athletes are trained and the way strength coaches are thinking about their training. And we have a massive opportunity. So I love this chance to connect as a community. Makes it all the more real, and hearing these real life scenarios. So you can feel free to drop your Insta in there and catch up and connect with others. Patrick did a really good job earlier in the week. I don't know if we've got the recording for that, Patrick, if you can help us out with it, but did a presentation around the BFR training, which was really cool. You did a great job presenting that. I think that does have application. I think it crosses over quite a bit with how we attack the sled work. I think that there's crossover with those theories and the way, Westside Barbell attacks the belt squats and the sled work and those sorts of things. I think there is crossover with that and the blood flow restriction. And I've got some cool stuff coming up for you this week, things I've been thinking about. But yeah, thanks guys.